Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Instruction Manual Not Included podcast. I am your host, Pazzi, and this is...
Karasu.
And we are here to talk about video games. So let's discuss what this podcast is first. We're going to play any game from any console, any whatever. We're going to play for about 2 weeks, and then we're going to join back up here, and we're going to talk about our experiences with it.
We'll be doing it either together or separate, and once we get through that, we'll be bringing what we had together to share the down low on the game itself, background, story information, not too much, the good, the bad, and our experiences in these virtual adventures, and release it here for your listening pleasure. And, as you would expect, we're doing all of this solo.
Instruction Manual Not Included. Alright, what have you been up to this past 2 weeks? We'll just pretend like there was an episode before this, even though this is the first one.
So, basically what I've been doing this past 2 weeks is actually just playing this game that we're about to talk about, playing Nosgoth. Kind of figured, stick to one thing for now, because I've kind of got a lot going on, but that's what I've been putting my spare time into, so.
It's pretty good, and I imagine you've just been working a shit ton as well.
Yes, every day. Horrible. Don't do it.
That's
Don't grow
always
up.
fun. I've been working almost every day as well, but I've managed to fit in a lot of Smite lately, along with a lot of Nosgoth, because me and Mike here have decided to go pro at Nosgoth.
Yep, it's gonna happen. So if you want to keep your eyes out on our names,
we're gonna be the top tier Nosgoth players. It's gonna be good.
It is. I hope you're ready for
but
us.
Yeah, I've just been playing a lot of Smite lately, getting pretty good at that, along with some Nosgoth and streaming. I've been streaming a whole bunch as well, but so nothing too important. I've pretty much just been sitting here being a lazy asshole.
That's disgusting.
All right, so let's go ahead and move right into the game here and talk about it. Yeah?
All right, yeah, I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do this. Okay, so basically, for those of you that don't know, the game we're talking about today is Nosgoth. It takes place in the world of the humans and vampires. If you are familiar with the Legacy of Kain series from back in the day, you will know kind of what it's about. Basically, long story short, Kain ended up bringing the world together, subjugating it under his rule. And the humans that weren't corralled as playthings, servants, and fodder for the vampires have been pushed out to the edges of the world, carving out an existence in the mountains and deep forests of Nosgoth, or exiled across the great southern sea to the hinterlands and beyond. Now, what happened is, that sets the background for this game, is Kain disappears. And so the humans use this opportunity to build up a force, to take back their lands, and, the war for Nosgoth is what we're taking part in. And as they do that, all the vampires who typically don't get along have started to war, not with each other anymore, but they've grouped together to face against the humans. And this brings us to the game that we are now talking about.
Oh shit, that's intense.
It is.
That's an intense backstory.
It is. And for those of you that are new to the series, that really breaks it down for you, kind of. You could always look it up. I just did a lot of ums there. You should probably shoot me now. All right, hold on. Let me read
I think it was a great idea on Psyonix and Square Enix, which I thought was really weird when I saw that Square Enix was the publishers here. I don't know why. Were they involved with the original Legacy of Kain series?
I don't remember. Bloody quick Google.
Yeah, I don't, because I never played the games before. So
Legacy of Kain was actually developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Square Enix in the past. So
okay, so I guess it makes sense. It's just, I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it, because it was just one of those titles I'd never really heard of before, to be completely honest with you.
To be fair, the series has kind of been, I don't want to say non-existent, but I feel like it's been really under the radar in the last decade or so, since the last release for the series. So,
which was when even was
early
that?
2000s, basically. Yeah.
Damn. But anyway, I think it was a good idea for them to bring them back, as especially something like this. It fits in well with the story, and they already have a well-established lore that they can go on, and it doesn't seem like they screwed it up. I mean, like I said, I don't really know the originals, but I mean, from what you said, it sounds pretty
yeah,
cool.
And as little as you may have heard of it so far, I think it's got good potential. As you may have known, I believe it was GDC, the Game Developers Conference this year. They showed some an announcement from them on Twitch. It was even streaming, and they were giving away Nosgoth keys for the closed beta. And there was a lot of hype around that, at least in the chat. There were a bunch of people trying to snag some keys. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to grab one.
Yeah, I mean, people try to snag keys for anything at this point.
Yeah, but you know. Yeah. All right. So basically, that's mostly what you need to know about the series. But if you want to know what the gameplay is like, Posy can tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, the gameplay is, it goes along the lines of a third-person action multiplayer thing, sort of the 4-on-4. You could almost similarly compare it to, like, a MOBA or something like that. It's just this battle arena, and it's ranged against melee combat. Obviously, the humans are the ranged, and the vampires are melee. And those are the two sides that you play as, and each one of them plays very differently. It's really great that they do play so differently, but they're still both really fun to play.
There's really a lot that you can do with the different sides. Obviously, it switches it up to a mid-game, which is nice.
Like one game is technically two games in one, because you switch sides after each time. And I think it's nice, instead of always end up getting on one side or always picking the other. Now it's more evened out, and like you have to play both sides.
Yeah, it splits it into 2 rounds and it adds up your scores from each. So you can win one round and you can lose the other, and you can still lose the match or win the match, depending on how well your team does when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way of doing it. This game does a lot of things that I actually like, and I was very skeptical at first when I saw the game, because one, I didn't know the backstory of the lore or anything like that. And then when I actually did decide to just go in and buy into the open beta, the closed beta, I was a little upset by the fact that it was going to be free to play, and that I was worried it was going to be a pay to win sort of thing. And I think they did it well. While you can still technically do that, you can go ahead and buy the gems. Everything in the store can be bought with in-game money.
You can compare it to League of Legends in the sense that you can sort of like buying riot points to spend on certain things like runes and otherwise. In this, you can actually purchase what's called rune stones to do the same for equipment, which you can get for either a span of 7 days at a pretty cheap price for your character or class to use, as well as purchasing it for permanently, which is significantly more expensive. Now, you don't necessarily, like you said, you don't have to buy in to do it. You can just simply earn gold through playing your matches and then spend it on it. It's the same exact way, just one's a little faster than the other. But from the way that they're doing it, it's actually pretty balanced, even though it seems like it's something that might not be.
It is, because it doesn't really take a lot of time to build up that gold.
Yeah.
In order to get things. Even if you only get something for a week, it's probably worth it at first to just play a few games and get something for a week.
Yeah.
And to see if you're even going to like it, because it is significantly cheaper, like you said, just to go ahead and do that than to just spend like maybe I think it's like 1,500 gold to buy it.
1,500 for some of them. Yeah.
For like a weapon. And like some other things you mentioned were like the skins. The skins are the same way. The only thing that is different, and that I think really makes it nice, is that there are different classes in this. Some of my favorites are the Reaver, Hunter, and the Alchemist, and we'll go into a little more of those later. But with the way they have it set up is you don't have to pay for the classes at all. Every 5 levels you gain like this artifact thing. I don't know. It's like a class artifact.
It's a class artifact.
That every time you hit every 5 levels, you can unlock a new class. And that's really good. Instead of having the classes be to this pay-to-win thing, you can actually...
Sort of like with League, where you have to buy the other characters.
Yeah.
You know, unless it's like a free weekend or something. With this, you just gain it through gameplay. It takes
significantly, like, a shorter amount of time than League does. League takes forever because they want you to spend that money and buy that champion. We won't go into, like, League now, but they have my like least favorite model of any MOBA out there. But that's a story for another time.
Okay. Also, going back to the classes, as we were just sort of talking about, each side currently has about 4 classes, and the way they work is obviously they have their own abilities and whatnot, and you choose your loadouts at the start of the matches. The way that it works is they obviously have their default loadouts that you get when you start the class. However, one thing I like about it is not only before the match or before the round starts you can switch your loadout, but you can also, between deaths, there should be a button where it says choose loadout or change loadout, and you can swap your loadout right there. So if you unlock any other weapons you want to use with that class, or any other primary attacks and secondary attacks, then you can swap those out mid-game, like between deaths, like simple as that, on the fly, which I think adds for a very fluid game style, because you never know what's going to happen, because someone could play a certain class one way, and then like 2 seconds later they can play it completely different from what you were preparing against.
It adds a ton of strategy to it.
It does.
You really have to think like on the fly. Like if they're changing their style up, you're going to have to change your style up in order to match it.
Yeah, and I think that gets into the competitiveness of it a little bit, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And as far as what the classes are, there's about 4, like I said, for each side. And if you want to take that away, Pazzi, because you've played around a little bit more than I have.
All right, each side, he's right. They have 4 classes. The vampires and the human side. The vampires have probably my favorite class, the Reaver. The Reaver is kind of like the hunter from Left 4 Dead. Yeah, and he basically jumps on people, incapacitates them, and he's just my favorite. I don't know, I like him a lot. He's fast and he's deadly. Then we have the Tyrant, which is your favorite.
Yeah, he's alright, I guess. He's not
You
bad.
like him. You always plays him. You're good at him, too.
I do.
He's sort of like the Charger from Left 4 Dead. He runs in, knocks people over, fucks shit up. This is pretty much how it goes. Then they have the Sentinel, which is the flying dude. He is scary as hell. Because if you're a human and you're wandering around down there by yourself...
You can hear it. You can
hear the wings
ominous.
flapping.
It is so ominous.
And then he swoops down, picks you up, and just carries you away, and that's it.
And I shit you not, the special ability for that is literally called Kidnap. So you better watch out for those predators, because they're coming for you.
There's an upgraded version of it just called Abduct. It's great.
Pretty much.
I love it. And then there's the Deceiver. The Deceiver goes more along the lines of like the Spy from Team Fortress 2. You can actually hide on the enemy team as a player model. So you can just get in there and like hide among them, and they might not even realize that you're a goddamn vampire. And then you can do like special attacks and stab him in the back and stuff. It's really good. He's definitely hard to play, but I feel like if you do like master him, he'd be pretty damn good.
Yeah, I honestly think it's probably one of the most difficult classes to play, especially like regardless of side. But especially for vampires, the Deceiver I think is one of the harder classes, because like you said, it's really difficult because your name shows up above your character. So if your like green health bar isn't there, like they'll know that you're not a teammate. But if you're in the middle of a fray in like some kind of fight, they're not gonna really notice. There's a good chance that you might get away. So if you can master all like his abilities and you can slip in there undetected, you can really screw them over before they realize. So
yeah,
it's definitely one to.
He's a good class, just hard.
If you like a challenge, that's what you might want to go for.
That's what I got, and I regret it because I suck at everything. So.
Nah, there's always improvement, but.
And then the human side is all that's left, and currently there's actually only three classes on the human side.
Yeah,
playable. The other one is coming soon. We have the scout, which is sort of your sniper, basically. He's got the bow that's long range. That does a shit ton of damage. I hate going against people who are good at the scout. And he can get things like throwing a field of arrows down, or like
he can call down a rain of arrows. He can call down he can set down a turret, which will in a small radius will shoot arrows out. And I think it does damage you a little bit, so it's kind of a double-edged sword if you can't get away from it in time. If you want to just drop it and run, if you see vampires coming your way.
And then he also has that grappling hook, so you can like throw it down and like grapple away, climb buildings and shit. He's probably one of the most mobile human classes because of that.
The thing with vampires is they can climb walls and just come at you, leap from building to building. And there isn't a thing like that on the human side. But the scout is the one that has that. If you invest in the grappling hook, you can grapple up walls, certain areas, which is very helpful if you want to get around fast.
It's intense.
Yeah.
Then is the alchemist. The alchemist is sort of like the demo man, I guess, of the group. She shoots little potions that explode. She's also pretty good at healing. You can get a healing item for her where it puts like a big circle on the ground, and any of your human teammates standing in that get healed. She's pretty good. I don't know. I feel like she's harder.
I think she is a little more difficult. Because it feels like are they like grenades? I don't know if you want to call them that. But
basically, she's basically like a support class because she can heal and everything, but she can also defend herself.
She can heal. She can defend herself. She can throw down poison mist in a kind of an area effect thing as well.
Yeah.
And the problem with it is you fire slower because you're kind of using a grenade launcher, if you want to call it that, for the alchemist. And it makes it difficult. If you're hoping to get up close in the fight, it's probably not going to be your best bet. You're probably going to want to stick back and support your teammates a little bit.
She's definitely a valuable asset to have, though.
Definitely.
Like, she's good. She gets targeted a lot, though.
She does. And that's one of the downsides, because they are pretty powerful if you use them right. They can decimate.
Yep. Then next we have the hunter. The hunters are your basic sort of run and gun deal here. They use crossbows. They get like bombs and shit like that. They're your general class. They're my favorite out of the humans so far. I didn't try the scout yet, though. I got him, but I haven't got a chance to try him.
Scout is a little bit more difficult, in all honesty, because his attacks are stronger. Like, if you look at the damage that the weapon for the hunter does, and then the weapons for the scout do, it's about 100 more damage that you'll be dealing with it. So you fire slower. So if you want to react quicker, hunter's a bit of the way to go.
The next class is the prophet. This is the one that isn't out yet, so I really don't know how this is gonna work.
Definitely looks cool.
They look really cool. They've got like this cow skull on their head with dual pistols and shit. They look pretty cool. I'm interested to see exactly how they're gonna play and pretty much when they're gonna be out, because I'll try it. I mean,
it definitely looks like it'll be fun. They did give a description of it, which is that they use tainted blood as a weapon, turning the source of their enemy's very existence against them, which is important because vampires are undead, so obviously their blood is tainted. I think the best way to describe them would be kind of like a shamanistic class, sort of.
Yeah.
Or like a cultist, but it can be spilled on the ground to temporarily repel or weaken attackers, the blood. Their mutated bodies have an unhealthy attraction to other sources of stolen blood, giving them the ability to literally steal the life from nearby vampires. Now, if that's not cool, I don't know. I don't know what else.
Is going to like drain the health of a vampire that's near them, because that's a little OP.
Yeah, but if you think about it, a lot of the classes actually have you have your primary ability, your special attack, and then your secondary ability. In your secondary, I believe, and your special ability have cooldowns on them. So what I'm assuming is that it's going to be the secondary ability. So I think you'll have maybe like a 10 to 15 second cooldown before you can use again.
Probably. It probably just restores like a little bit of health. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how they do it. It
We'll
could
see.
be good. It could suck. I don't know. But now that we've, bored you to death with just talking about the classes, let's just talk about our experience with it. I really, really like this game, like, a lot.
I do. It was a lot of fun.
We played it for, like, 3 days straight, streaming it?
Pretty much. Every day, every night.
It was crazy. Like I said, I really enjoyed playing as the Reaver. I think the vampires might be just a little bit easier to play. You die pretty quickly though.
You
Like
die
the
a lot
teams are really
faster
balanced. But I kind
Yeah.
of like the vampires more. I don't know. I just like jumping off of buildings and everything. It's just a lot of
As
fun.
a vampire, you do, obviously, you're not human. You're superhuman, if you want to call it that. And so humans are generally, I feel like they're weaker in the gameplay, which isn't a bad thing. But at the same time, it somehow feels balanced.
Yeah.
There are a few things that need some tweaking, like melee, for instance. The human
Oh my god,
melee does like no
the human
damage.
melee is fucking useless.
It pretty much is. It doesn't seem to stun them. It doesn't. I don't know. I mean, it does a little damage, and I think that's about all it does. But it doesn't do enough to be.
It doesn't
lethal.
do enough damage to be viable in any means.
But aside from that, if you want to talk about balance, it's perfect. But if you go solo, you're kind of boned.
Yeah, the game is really, really focused around teamwork. Like, playing by yourself, just solo queuing, basically, might not go well for you unless you're, like, really good.
Well, I wouldn't say it's bad, but...
No, it's not like it's bad. It's just, it's hard when you don't communicate that much with your teammates. Like, if you're in a Skype call with it, like when we did it, we did good. At least I remember us doing good.
Also, we did do good, especially as we played some later matches. As we played a little longer, we did a lot better. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a game that's easy to adapt to, which I think is fantastic for this type of game. And when I say this type of game, they do intend to make it a little more serious as far as the gameplay goes. As far as like leagues goes. Like,
yeah, they're definitely going to be implementing esports into it. They want it to be a competitive game, and they're doing their best to do it. Like, it is in a closed beta right now, but will be going to open, and it is going to be free to play. So people will be able to get their hands on it. It's free, and you don't really need to pay for anything. So I think it's definitely going to go somewhere. It's probably not going to get to League or Dota status. Probably not. But I can definitely see there being competitions and shit for this game. And the one thing that's really good is the devs are really active in everything.
They are.
Even when we were streaming, we had the art director come out to the stream and like hang out for a little bit, get some feedback, and just watch.
And that's one thing that I think is really important, because we just tweeted to them, and the guy popped in the stream. I didn't even know it was him. And he was like, "How do you like the game?" And I was like, "Oh, it's good, but I think this needs a little so-and-so." And he was like, "Oh, well, I'm actually from the art director's team." And Steve was like, "Yeah, that's the guy that he stopped by my stream yesterday." And I was like, "What?" And I think that's really cool that you can have people come out and check up on you. And he was asking, if there's anything we thought that, might need improvements, or if we had any bugs. And I did have a few game crashes myself. And so he was just like, "Just send me an email here, and we'll take care of it." And I did, and they're working on it. I sent them not backup files, but log files that are recorded when stuff like that happens. So they're really nice, and he hung around for a good 30 minutes. I'd like to say
30, 45 minutes he was there. It was nice to see that, and like, I'm hoping that they really stay that active in the community even once the game is out. Like, a perfect example of this, I know I'm just gonna say it, is Smite, because they run 2 separate Twitch channels, and they just have community members stream on it, and they do community art shows. That's something I'd like to see
happen
about
with Nosgoth.
For Nosgoth.
Yeah,
that connection with the community is really important, I feel, and that's what League did in the beginning. And now look at where they are.
a lot of angry people.
There's a lot of angry people, yes, but they did things well in the beginning. Maybe not so much anymore. That's up to whatever. But I like the way they're going with things, and I know they have a lot more stuff coming out, new game modes and everything, which they really need. There's only 2 game modes right now.
They are working on several things. The first of all is improving matchmaking, because there are some bugs. So if you do happen to be in the closed beta right now, don't be frustrated. They're aware, because I did mention that. But they're working towards new game modes. Right now there's Recruit Deathmatch, which is up to level 10. You can play against people at your level
in that range,
which is really, really good.
So you don't get wrecked.
Like, I'm telling you right now, don't you dare. I mean, if you really want to, go ahead. Who am I to stop you? But I highly recommend staying within that until you reach the level 10 cap, because after that you'll be facing people that might be even level 40, which is
that happens a lot.
And it's not so much that they're better at the game, because you could play from levels 1 to 10 and be just as good as them. But what advantage they have is that they've earned a lot more gold progressing through all those other levels that you have not even hit yet. So they have other abilities, other gear, equipment, whatever that you might not have access to, that might give them a better edge, that might be better than the weapons that you'll have at your current level. So stick with 1 through 10 until you can.
Stick with there or get
and then
wrecked,
charge
basically.
out into it. Yeah. And we care about you. Don't do that.
And the other game mode was Siege, but we couldn't get into a game.
Yeah, and I don't think it's anything on Siege's part necessarily. I just think people are really interested in the death matches, more or less, which is the main game mode for now.
So I don't even know what Siege was. Because we didn't get into a game, I didn't look it up.
I did look into it, and I'm pretty sure it's objective based, and I think it has to do with kind of capturing points. I could be wrong. I should probably look this up before I go and say this in the podcast.
I could see that being fun, though. Maybe once the open beta comes out, more people will be playing it, so we'll actually be able to get into a game of Siege. But everybody just seems to want to do the team deathmatch right now, which I'm sure is going to be the more popular thing when it comes out. Just like how Smite has a million different game modes, but Conquest will always be the most popular, that typical MOBA game mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This game is built around just the team deathmatch, really.
For now. We have no idea what the new game mode is going to be, but they are still working on new classes on top of the ones that we just mentioned to you. They're working on, as you play through the game and you level up, or through the matches, you earn gold, which is what we mentioned earlier. You can use to spend on abilities, equipment, skins, and things like that. But you also earn items sometimes, which are placed in your inventory in the main lobby. And they do want to implement trading and gifting that stuff between people. And another thing, which on top of the esports leagues that they want to try and bring about, which I think might be interesting, is they want to start war bands, which is basically your equivalent to clans.
Yeah, like a clan or guild or something like that. It'll be interesting because then you'll actually see those esport teams form up.
Yeah, and I think they'll have, what I think they could do is have clan matches, and you can have several individual teams within your clan that, maybe some people will play together with each other better than they do with some of the other members, if you form teams, and this team does this kind of stuff, this team participates more in Siege, whatever. I think it could be interesting.
The game has a lot of possibilities as it is right now. There's just so much that can come from this, and I really hope that it does end up catching some traction out there in the esports community and just gaming community in general, because it's really fun. If I had to recommend it, I would recommend it to anybody who's listening, because it is a lot of fun as long as you're into this kind of thing. If you like these team-based battle arena sort of things, not necessarily a MOBA. It's not there. It's sort of like I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it by comparing to other games. Maybe Left 4 Dead meets a MOBA is how I describe it. Actually,
Left 4 Dead meets a MOBA, but with more teamwork. Because even in Left 4 Dead, you're kind of
in Left 4 Dead, there's zero teamwork.
Yeah,
you can just run and gun and you'll be fine.
You can run and gun and still survive. But in this, teamwork is pretty important.
If you're out there by yourself as a human, you're done. Like,
even
GG.
as a vampire, because
even as a vampire,
if you stick
I think
together,
it's scarier as a human because like they're stronger than you. There's no doubt about that.
This is true.
You may have a gun, but they're still stronger than you. If they rush you, done. GG. Just close the game, shut down the computer, go to sleep and cry. It's over.
Curl up, fetal position, that right there. You might as well take a selfie of that too. but
sure, let's start taking selfies of ourselves crying.
But yeah,
that sounds good.
Teamwork is very important, regardless of whether you're a human or a vampire. And people will yell at you. I'm telling you. I mean, they're not doing it to be mean, but it's serious. Because if you play this game, you will instantly understand that you cannot survive on your own. At least not for very long. And it tells you how long you survive. So, you die.
Does it really?
Yeah, it says so-and-so you survived this long, this life.
I never actually noticed that.
Yeah, if you look at the death screen, it'll have the minutes or seconds or however long you were able to stay alive. Rounds typically last 10 minutes each, so, you can fit it. If you can last longer in that and rack up more damage by staying together as a team, keep at it, because that's the way to do it. Because you need teamwork, also known as T-work, for short, twerk.
I hate you so much.
I had to throw that in. You can cut that out.
But the game is good.
They do have
I definitely recommend it.
They do have in-game communication as well. If you're
That's
playing
built right in with Steam.
If you're playing, no, not even that, in the game itself.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't functional at first, but like the second or third day that we were playing it, people were talking in game. I think it's the G key. You just hold it in and you can talk with your teammates, which is really good.
Oh, you mean like a voice chat? Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't necessarily know who you're playing with, or you don't have, I don't want to say it, but if you don't have many friends,
like me,
like us, we just have each other. If you don't have many friends to play with, or that even have the game or aren't interested in it or whatever, you can just easily join up in a lobby with people. And as long as you're playing, like, maybe not with, like, on another country's server, maybe you'll still be speaking the same language and you can communicate with the voice chat that way, which is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I know most people don't use that because I don't want to talk to some random people I don't know. They're gonna like,
dude, what if they
start like hitting on me? Or
what if they want my phone number? My mom told me not to talk to strangers.
They'll be like, "Hey, son, how you doing?" I'll be like, "No, I don't want any part of this."
And they're hey, dance with me, Geppetto. And I'm like, "No, Papa, I do not want to dance." They're like, "You can call me Big Papa."
Oh my god! What a beautiful way to bring this to a close. I think. Yeah. I think we've said about enough. As soon as Papa starts getting involved, there's no more.
There is a bit more. For those of you interested,
Papa ruined it.
There is no release date yet on the open beta. Right now, I think in maybe even the past week and a half is when it entered closed beta. You can wait out and hope you get a closed beta key, but if you want in sooner, you don't have to. Like he said, it is going to be a free-to-play game. But if you want to buy into the closed beta to get early access to it as they develop the game, give feedback, send them bug reports, whatever, or just get used to the game before anybody else can, if you want to go pro, like us.
There's multiple tiers that you can buy into. The cheapest you can buy in is $20. $20
pack
will get you the game. Will get you 4,000 runestones, and
which is good.
That's it. You can go all the way up to 150, which gives you like a bunch of in-game shit, and it's crazy and not necessary.
No, it's not. But it totally supports them. But personally, broke college student, I can't really afford that. So $9.99, and you can wait if you want, but we'll also be yada yada. We'll also fuck. God damn it. So you don't have to buy in, but you can, and that will get you ahead of the game a little bit. They might reset it when the game does release. I'm not sure. They haven't really spoken too much about that, but at least you'll have experience before other people can jump in. Because if they're really going to go the esports route, that is a valuable experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
There are some times we get totally wrecked, and then there are other times that we improve, and it's really good. But if you don't want to wait until then, but you also don't have the money to buy a founder's pack or something like that, you can always check out Twitch. We did not mention it very much earlier. We maybe briefly skimmed it, but both of us stream. So if you want to check out our Twitch channels, you can. They'll be somewhere in the links.
There'll be in some form of description wherever this is posted.
Yeah.
It'll be there. You can watch us stream it. We're pretty good. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, because I intend to stream it for the foreseeable future for a good while.
Yeah, and one thing I did want to mention with the buy-in, the founders packs, is that let's say you decide to get the $50 one and get a bunch of extra stuff. You're gonna get 2 other beta invites to give to people, and like it goes from 1 to 4, 10, 20, whatever. You just get a bunch of invites to give to people. Like if you do actually spend the $50,
yeah,
you'll be able to play with some friends,
which
then.
is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it that many?
It goes up to, with a $150 pack, you get 10 invites.
Yeah.
The one before that is actually 4.
So if you know friends that want in, and you know you're up for that, and hey, more power to you. More friends, the better.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can just spend money to try and convince people to be your friends, like I do. Oh man,
Basically,
that's the only reason we're doing this together. No, not really.
Yeah,
we're friends. We're friends, right?
Maybe.
All right, so that about wraps it up. And of course, we don't like to do things without a manual. Sometimes people do. Sometimes you need a little help. So
if any of you would like to aid us in picking a game you'd like to see us cover, you can drop us a line on Twitter at IMNincluded, or you can just go to our personal Twitters at Posse vs. the World or at Karasu416. So thank you everybody for listening, and hopefully you're enjoying it. If you did enjoy it, make sure you share it around, because that's the biggest thing that's going to help us at this stage. We will be having it on places that will be much easier for you to consume, like iTunes and stuff, a little bit down the line, but for now it's going to be wherever it's going to be now, and I think that everything went pretty good. So thank you beautiful listeners.
Thank you. I hope you stay tuned to let our voices serenade you again.
We will serenade you over and over again.
And over again.
Bye everybody.
Good night.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy, San Diego. San Diego. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego?
We'd like to give a special thank you to Taylor Marcoux for letting us use his music. Make sure you go check him out in the descriptions below.
And one last thing, of course, before we leave this off to end the night with, don't you forget, but we are
Instruction Manual not included.